Hi and welcome back to another episode of Lost and Found with Frankie. And today I have my best friend of 20 years on. We talk about how to be a friend to somebody who's grieving. We start off with the initial first few years after I lost my brother Matt, and we talk about the lessons we've learned from each other, some do's and don'ts potentially around grief that worked for us, and some advice that she gives is so valuable. We talk about navigating being a friend through the different phases that I had whilst I was grieving. And there's so much to come out of this conversation. So settle in and I hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to Lost and Found with Frankie, a podcast for young adults and teens who are just trying to figure out who they are whilst dealing with one of life's most devastating experiences, grief. I'm Frankie, and 10 years ago, when I was 13 years old, I lost my eldest brother, Matt. Like you're probably feeling now, I felt lost, alone, angry, and completely overwhelmed with sadness, and was just craving a space where I could go and feel comforted and understood. So this podcast is my way of creating that space for you, whilst opening up the taboo topic of grief, which so many of us experience. So if you're feeling lost on your journey with grief, hi, and welcome to this safe space. Thank you so much for being here with me today. You are not alone, and I hope that this podcast brings whatever it is that you're seeking on your journey. So let's get into it. Hello, welcome to Lost and Found with Frankie at the pod. Finally, been a long time coming, hasn't it? We've been talking about it for a long old while. So thanks for coming on. So let's give some context. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello. So I'm Millie and I am Frankie's one of her best friends, I would say. I often refer to her
long-time best friend
as a sister.
Oh,
a second sister. I've got one of my own. Well, 1.5 of my own. And she would complete that, I would say.
That's so cute. But we literally are, like, we've been friends. What's so scary, actually, we've been friends 21 years.
No, it's 22.
Oh, sorry.
No, 22. It's 21. It's 21.
Over 20 years, which, considering we're 23, is correct. Yeah. So, a long time. And we've been through a lot together, both of ours, separate things. Lots of good times, lots of some not good times. And I guess today, like, I really just wanted to get you on, because if I was just describe you as someone who is absolutely just cracked the code to being a friend to someone who is grieving. And I feel like it's actually a massive thing as someone who's grieving, there being help out there for those who just want to support you / like me in this situation. Because there's not a lot out there on how to help. And I feel like there's only so much you can help a grieving person until you then also help the support system they have around them. Because as I say, like, the only thing that's going to fix grief is that person coming back, and that's not going to happen. So any other small things that can be done around it, like the friendships you have, are so huge. So yeah, I feel like you're just like a perfect example.
That's very kind.
A shining star.
Thanks.
Some context. I feel like this is maybe going to get a bit deep, a bit quick, but that's all right.
That's all right.
That's what we're all here for. So we obviously went to primary school together.
Don't forget.
Oh, sorry. Nursery.
Montessori.
Primary school, and then we went to different secondary schools.
Yeah.
And when I was in year 9, when we were 13, is when Matt passed away. I'm going to give some context. I feel like we're getting in there a bit more now, like learn a bit more about me, and like I feel like I talk about Matt a bit, so it would make sense. So I'm not going to go too deep because I will probably cry. It's been 10 years, but it doesn't matter. I will still...
That's good, though. It's good to...
get upset. But yeah, so that day, it was a Sunday morning. It happened at home, and it was a sudden loss. Like, none of us saw it coming. And something I remember so vividly from that day, this is so weird because, like, why are you thinking that? When it was all happening in the house, I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, what am I going to tell school? I've not done my homework.
Were you thinking that in the moment?
In the moment.
Of the day?
Yeah, like weirdly, like, we hadn't found out that he'd actually passed yet. But
the fact that was already...
I literally was thinking to myself, I'm going to go into school and be like, I'm so sorry. Like, something happened with my brother yesterday. He's fine now, but I haven't done my Latin homework because of that. What? Because you don't think stuff like that's going to happen to you. So that's some context. That obviously didn't happen in my case. Matt passed away that day, and it was, quite frankly, the worst day of my life. But I wanted to ask, what do you remember of that day? Because mine's like, it's a blur with like these little flashbacks that are so vividly horrible.
Yeah. I remember it really clearly. And it was, like you say, it was a Sunday. And I remember my family were all sat around the dinner table, making a roast or something.
Yeah.
And I was sat like where I always sit, at the top of the table.
Okay.
Okay.
At the table.
Okay. And my phone like flashed, and it was either a text. I remember you FaceTiming, but I don't know if you texted me to say.
No, I wouldn't.
I don't think you did. So it was a FaceTime, and usually I wouldn't answer my phone at the FaceTime. Phone
at the dinner table.
So I must have known, or just thought, I don't know, something on a Sunday not right. So I answered it, and I went into my bedroom to answer it. And I think you just point blank said, I don't even know if you need to say, I need to tell you something, or if it was just, Millie, Matt's dead. God. Or, you know, I think you...
I know, I was so to the point.
Like that.
Yeah, I was so to the point. And I remember smiling when I said that to you.
Yeah.
Because like, an absolute shock. Like, it didn't sing in for like a couple of years, to be honest. But like, I remember like smiling on the phone, and like your whole family.
Well, then I must have made a noise.
Oh God.
Or done something. But then my nanny came in, and then my stepdad, my mum, everyone kind of came in, and no one could believe it, of course.
Oh God.
But I think it was just a state of, what the hell, how have you just said those words, and they are about to change your whole life.
And yours, in a sense, as well,
in the space of a morning,
that
had happened, and
I just think, especially like
we were all,
and we were all an age where like stuff like that, you just don't think it happens. Like, it's like it happens in movies, and it doesn't happen to you. And like, I just remember being really smiley on the phone. Honestly, it's so weird, and I just it's not funny, but I just remember your nanny bawling her eyes out, like hysterical cries in the background, and I'm there like, Matt's just died, and you're there, all of you were there like, oh my God, we're coming over now, like, do you need us? And I was kind of like, no, like, we're fine. But weird day. And I honestly didn't know this, and I was speaking to Leah the other day, and she told me that I don't think I told her at the time, because we were obviously at school together. Apparently I was, honestly, take social media away from this girl at that time. I was so unapologetically open on social media at that time.
I do remember that.
Apparently I was posting these like cryptic messages with a black screen on Snapchat stories, like,
no replies,
and in a flash you're gone or something. Take away my social media.
But that's almost a way to, it's not a cry for help, of course, but I think direct messaging people, you don't want to have to do that in that stage. So
no, and I think about this all the time. How do you tell people information like this? I remember mine was to my group chat or something. It was like, Matt died this morning at 12 from a heart attack, blah blah. Because how, like, it's such an odd thing, and I think obviously like my brain was still developing, and like I was still developing as a person at that point. So take social media away from her. I think I made a pic collage of all photos of Matt and put it on my Instagram with like a massive
flipogram.
Honestly, why was I making a pic collage? But it was just so like not real. It wasn't real in that moment. Anyway, cut to, what on earth do you do with like, it's like school was weird. So school was weird. Like your school,
I think our school, well, my school is quite unique in itself, in the sense that it's a very, won't give the name of the school away, but it's a very small, nurturing, like looks after every pupil and person at that school. And I remember going in and saying, I mean, to the point that the person that I had to tell already knew who Frankie was. She didn't even go to the school. So I was like, Frankie's brother has passed away and I would love to see her. I would love to be with her. And they very kindly kind of said, do what you need to do, go and spend time with Frankie. And that was it. I was then excused from school for
a week.
It was a week. Yeah, it was like
which
5 days.
Yeah, which considering you hadn't personally lost someone was so kind of them. And you pretty much like moved in with me.
I did.
Did
I can't
you?
remember if I slept in your bed.
No,
I did. I was there overnights.
Yeah. I do remember that. And then I remember another thing, I don't know if anyone else has found, it's like really common, but like when someone passes away, a love language or like a helping language is like food.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we got so much food. Like we ranked all the food.
Can I just say?
Oh, yeah.
To this day, my favourite soup is pea and ham.
Yeah.
And I had
we
never
won't
tried.
shout out who, but if she's listening, she knows.
I had never tried pea and ham soup before that time. And I remember this just days on end, vats and
oh
vats.
My God. Every day people just leave it on the doorstep.
Pea and ham soup coming out the Arga.
Yeah. Because like, people just don't know what to do.
Pea and ham soup. And I think that looking back, that's probably a good way to help. Not help, support.
Yeah, I mean,
nothing you can say or do is going to support or help in
just
that
like
situation.
Being there.
But having things that you don't have to think about, like cooking.
Oh, such a help.
If that's one thing that you can be relieved from,
I think so.
Definitely a good thing.
And I think, it was just like it's just like, when I look back at it now, like it's just weird. And like going back to school, like I think me and my brother Harry, we went back to school after a week. I think my dad went back to work after a month. Like it's just like a weird thing. Like you don't know what else to do, so you're like, well, might as well. And like that was a whole other experience that we won't get into today because also you weren't. We were at different schools. So I was thinking this the other day. Do you think like I'm not talking about the stages of grief, because personally I feel like I didn't experience those. I feel like they can be helpful to some people, but personally in my experience, I didn't experience them that, what's the word, like order.
Yeah.
But I definitely had phases of grief.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you think I had phases of grief?
I think so. I think looking at you now versus little Frankie, who'd just lost Matt, I think you've had multiple stages and phases that haven't necessarily followed like a structure, but I think you as a person have grown from them.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But yeah, no, I do think you have.
I definitely have. One of them wasn't a good one.
I'm trying to think tracing back to you, like at school. I think, well, now for example, I think your maturity and learning what you care about, learning the friendships you care about, learning what to prioritise and what's important from you has probably been learned from your grieving.
100%.
Because
and it's taken its
time, but it's got to a stage where it's like, okay, that person isn't adding value to my life, or their energy isn't matching me. Yeah, that's okay. I don't want to argue with them. No, I don't want to.
I think it just makes you, when you lose different people at different ages and stages of your life, I think it obviously affects you differently. Yeah. And I think because I was so young, I don't think it actually hit me till much later. And then it's hit me like differently, like as I hit different milestones, I find.
I think your 18-year-olds, maybe slightly younger, was probably
awful.
The hardest and the worst, maybe.
Maybe. I just think she was just a nightmare. Not a nightmare. But I just went through a phase of just like, I would just cry every time I'd have a sip of alcohol, every single time. But that's another story for another day. But I feel like then, like, moving on, I think something I really struggled with, and you knew this was coming. We speak so openly, not even just about like grief, but about Matt, and it's so nice because I only have like a handful of friends that ever met Matt.
Yeah.
Because I met most of the friends that I'm friends with now after. I mean, it was 10 years ago. Like, yeah. And I hold you so dearly. Yeah.
Since that.
And yeah, so for you to actually have known him for who he was, not how I tell him to you and explain him to you, is so special to me, 100%. But I also feel so grateful that we do lots of like events and things that share his memory, and I feel like I talk about him non-stop. So the friends that I have made after that, I feel like they know him through me.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's like nice that you know him through yourself.
I think so. I think you can get to, well, you can't really get to know someone from a picture, but you can see a picture of someone and think, oh, that's what they might be like. But I think, I mean, even going to your house and seeing him around the house, you can kind of hear him and see him, and he's always there.
Yeah. Do you think, I've always actually wanted to ask you this.
Go on.
Do you think you grieved at all?
Yeah.
Like, obviously Matt wasn't your family member, but like at the age of 13 as well, like it was a big thing for you to go through.
I think also I hadn't, well, minus couple of dogs, I hadn't lost someone that close. I had never lost someone that close to me before, personally. So I think knowing at that age how to be a friend and going back to saying the right things, I was probably a little bit lost as well.
100%.
Because there's no right thing you can say.
No.
And there's no kind of right thing to do. But I think maybe grieving with you and kind of alongside you 100%. Helped that.
Yeah, I think so. And I must say, like, one thing that you never did, which was so good, like, you never stopped me talking about Matt. Like, you would literally just always listen. And like, I feel like I'm going to start sounding like a broken record over this podcast, but like, I honestly am such a true believer of something I've learned is grief is about options. And I think you are so good at that. Like, I think over the years, obviously you've learned so much, I've learned so much, and we've grown together. But that's something I feel like you do so well. Like, whether it's a big day or a normal day, you will just be like, right, how are you feeling? Oh, and I'll be like, oh, I'm feeling sad. And you're like, okay, what do you need? Like, should we go get a coffee and like talk about it? Do you want to go on a walk? Do you want to feel distracted? Do you want to drink? Like, it's just about options, because then it allows me to either shut it down or delve right in. You know?
I think it's like with any friendship, it's important to kind of check in and
always
see how you are. But I think with our friendship, it's more of a, like, even if it's like you say, it doesn't have to be a specific day or a birthday or an anniversary, but checking in and just saying, thinking of you, or I hope you're okay, or literally sending a hug. I always try and remember and think, I need to see how Frankie is and kind of just see how you are, because it doesn't take any time really out of my day, but for you to know that you've got so many people around you and so many special friends and kind of little eyes on you everywhere.
It is
From
so
Matt's
true.
friends to George and Harry's friends, like, you've got so many people around you that care and look out for you.
Yeah.
That having that feels like a bit of Matt is
Oh
around
my
you.
God, yeah, that's so nice.
You know?
That's so nice. And I feel like slowly over time, as you've said like earlier, as I've like grown up, I've definitely like pinpointed what's important to me. And obviously Matt has always been important to me, but I think as I've matured more, like, it's just such a thing to me in a friendship that like has to be understood.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time I was like, oh well, that's too much of a pressure to put on my friends. And I think I've slowly realised, like, no, it's not. Because I don't need too much from you. I just need you to be present. And listen if it's listening, laugh. And also, like, if I make a silly joke about Matt that maybe to other people is a bit dark or dark humour, just laugh along. And that's what I feel you guys have just, like, I've built like a really solid support system, and especially with you. And I just feel like you just get it.
Thanks, girl.
You just...
I don't think I do.
You do.
I try. No. I think going to uni must have been hard.
Yeah.
Because having a whole new group of people who didn't know Matt, didn't know you, don't know your family, don't know anything about you, and having to open up this wound that's
so true,
so raw, like to a group of people that you, I don't know, want to try and have the best time with at the same time. Is that a way of saying it?
Yeah, it was weird. I was really lucky though, actually, at uni.
Yeah.
Like I made some really, really incredible friends who actually got it really quickly, which was a massive like worry of mine, like making new friends after loss, because obviously we were friends before.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just feel like, do you think you've learnt anything like about yourself through like this situation? Or do you think it's like changed how you view life?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is about like being present, I would say, and just the awareness.
Yeah.
Knowing what you're going through, and kind of knowing when you meet people you don't know what they're going through, and just to, like I said, just check in with them and see how they are. But also, you never know when you're going to feel a certain way. And I know there was a specific time when we were away that I remember really clearly, just like,
oh my God.
Yeah, I guess it's a kind of story in itself, really.
Oh my God. Go on, you tell it. Give a bit of context.
We've missed out quite a big bit here, but Frankie and I spent 5 months, was it? Yeah, 5 months.
Yeah.
Travelling together last February. And we were about 3/4 of the way through from this time, I think. And we'd just been out and about.
Where were we?
We were in Vietnam. No, we weren't. We were in Chiang Mai.
We were in Chiang Mai.
And that's actually quite a good point, because I feel like in Thailand is when you felt the closest maybe to Matt.
Yeah. So our last family holiday with Matt was actually, we'd gone to Thailand like around Christmas time. Yeah, and that was our last family holiday with him. So I think like I definitely always wanted to go there. I don't know what it was. Like I just feel like I just felt a bit closer to him weirdly there. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Like sometimes like things in life just make me feel close to him. Like I feel like in sunsets, I feel a bit close to him. Might sound weird to some people. Like weirdly when I'm on a plane, I feel a bit close to him, like in the clouds. Like I just, there's times, and that was a time for me. So I think it kind of opened up some stuff.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't anything kind of specific that had happened that evening either. But we'd just been out, had a few drinks, went for dinner, and came back. And I can't remember what we got onto the topic of. I think it was turning 21. I think it was around the time of a birthday. You were turning 21. No, you weren't.
That summer.
Yes.
Yeah.
You weren't turning 21, but you were turning.
No, I was. I was turning 21 that summer when we were going to be home. Yes. Because I was literally going to say this earlier, like that actually for me was probably one of the hardest days I've had. So when Matt passed away, he was 21. And because I was 13, like I had like so long until I ever had to like face being the same age as him, if not like now older than him, which just felt so wrong to me. Like I just could not wrap my head around it. And I was building it up in my head. This is why this happened.
Yeah.
I'll like, get onto that. But God, it was awful, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we just got back to this. We were at this, I mean, not very welcoming hostel in itself. But we got back to this tiny little room, and I just remember Frankie literally just breaking down and unconsolably crying. And I didn't know what to do, really. And I don't think I'd ever been in that situation where it was just me with you. And
not that for a long time.
Not for a long, obviously before, but there had been other people around, and we'd been in like a home environment of not the other side of the world, but being on the other side of the world when there's no family around you, and being in that state was really hard to watch.
I had never thought about it that way. I'm so sorry.
Don't say sorry.
No, but as in, like, that must have been a lot for you too.
No, I mean, I just wanted to
say.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the right thing or say something. But then I kind of thought, there's nothing I can say right now that's going to help you.
No.
Because fundamentally, you want Matt to come back, and he isn't going to come back. So the only thing that you can have in that stage is comfort and someone to just hug you and just tell you I love you. And try and help as a friend.
Which but
I think
it didn't happen often traveling.
No. But there were certain times, I think, where you'd say, like, you felt really close to Matt, and we both journaled. And I think it'll probably be quite nice to look back over that and be like, this is how I was feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
In the moment.
For sure.
Remember, there was a time also in Thailand where I think you saw him.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I forgot about this. No, this was actually... Okay, this is going to go a bit... This is it. I don't know. This is, I think, just very, like, with, like, spiritual things like this, I'm very just like, if it works for you, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, I just think anything you feel close to that person, just allow yourself to feel it and let it be. But I definitely feel like I've gone that way. Anyway, so we were in... Where were we? Koh Samui?
Koh Samui.
Okay, yeah. And...
Another weird hostel.
That was a hotel.
Yeah.
Weird. And we were like... I was like fast asleep. And I woke up. I'm not even kidding you.
Set the scene a bit. There were two beds.
Okay, so yeah, 2 twin beds.
2 beds and pretty much a walk-through.
Yeah.
Curtains, walk-through, bathroom.
And I... like woke up to like this, what would you call it, like a... No, I didn't wake up to pitter patter. He didn't run.
Me the next time.
Yeah, that was you. I woke up to just like, there was like someone sat at the end of my bed.
Yeah.
But no part of me panicked or felt stressed or felt, oh my God, there's a burglar in the room.
Yeah.
I felt so safe and at peace that this being... Figure. Honestly, it was wild. And like, I've had some vivid dreams before, like, but like that was beyond anything I'd ever experienced. And I feel like in tune with like signs and robins and feathers and butterflies. I personally find so much comfort in that. But this was like something I'd never experienced before. And then... It wasn't just me.
It must have been that room.
Did you? Maybe it was haunted and it wasn't that, but I really felt it was personally. But you then had...
But you didn't wake up the next morning in like a shock or a...
No, I felt so happy.
You just woke up and we just turned to each other every morning and just say our little hellos. But this morning it was, I saw Matt last night.
And you'd think most people would be like,
okay.
Right. But you were literally like, oh.
Hey.
Well, also our mums are quite spiritual, so I feel like we're pretty in tune.
Yeah, quite accepting of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of stuff.
And then I can't remember what happened.
Well, that's why I thought it was the pitter pattering, but that was actually me.
Yeah, that was you the second night.
So
oh my God.
The night after, I didn't go to bed. Neither of us went to bed nervous or anything. That was just a night before. But I then woke up to the sound of like feet, and the only way that I could explain it to Frankie was I heard it before I saw it, and I just heard this like tapping, and then just some feet walked past.
Was it like an adult person?
Yes, they walked past the end of the bed, in and out the door.
Did you feel like stressed?
I didn't feel nervous. I didn't feel scared.
See, that's what it is. It's the feeling that neither of us have.
The
stress.
Yeah, it was almost just reassurance, and I do feel the whole time throughout our travels that Matt was looking over us, whether it be the weather,
I know,
or the storms.
Oh, honestly,
we had a few storms, but they would always pass.
Oh, God, yeah, we did. But that was like a big time, and like I feel it was a pivotal time also because we'd like left uni.
Yeah.
And up until that point, we both had a plan. So as we were coming to the end of our trip, it was kind of like, okay, what are we going to do next? And like, that's, I think, where I started to grieve more, I think, in that time because I wasn't busy. And I had space and like time to really allow myself to go there more. And I don't know if you noticed that. I don't know.
I think you as a person, I think, thrive when you have not a purpose, but you do. Like,
and I think I allowed myself. I got quite like low in that time because it was then like, what's next? And then because I didn't have anything coming next, it was like, ooh. And then I turned 21, and
I was going to say it was like, also heightened by the fact that you're turning 21.
Awful. My 21st birthday was it was an awful day.
Yeah,
literally cried as I woke up. Cried twice in the day. I just hated it. It just felt really alien to me. And to be honest, ever since, I haven't really enjoyed any birthday that I've had.
Birthdays can be very overwhelming in themselves, though, I think.
Oh,
and when
God.
you've got those
100%.
expectations and kind of pressure of Matt not living past 21, you are now on the kind of stage that you want to do everything you can past this to make a difference and help others, I think, which is the path that I think you're really now focusing on.
Yeah, 100%.
You are thriving in.
Thanks. We're both thriving, I feel like, at the moment. I'm loving
your
it.
20s are fun, but they're also, there's a lot of pressure.
So stressful. Like, adulting's just terrifying.
And following a path and being in a job or not being in a job and keeping up with friends. There's so many different things.
Honestly, grief is exhausting, but add that, like, just life to that as well. It's just, like, crazy. So, are there any... Okay, we're going to get onto some, like, advice now.
Okay.
Is there any, like, don'ts that you would tell people to not do? Because I've approached grief like, there's so many right things to do. I feel like there's no one right way to grieve or help someone grieving, but I feel like there's wrong ways. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of do's and there's not one right do.
Yeah.
But there's some don'ts that I just feel like are not helpful.
I think trying to cover up, like trying to take Matt, for example, trying to pretend that he's not there. To kind of think, okay, we're going to have a good night tonight. I'm going to pretend Matt doesn't exist, or I'm just going to block it all out. I think blocking it all out is probably the point that I'm trying to get to. And may that be friends or family. I think it's always important to include them in everything you do.
Yeah. Just acknowledge. Like, it's the tiny things, like, I feel like you usually like come to like Matt's birthday things that we do, but you're just so good at like, cheers to Matt.
Yeah.
And you'll do it. And I think when it's not the person who's grieving having to like always bring them up, that's where it feels nice. And you bring him up and like give me a chance to talk about him. And I think it can be quite exhausting bringing it up and then people shutting it down. And like, that's something I would say. And like,
people not really acknowledging your feelings sometimes.
Yeah. And I get it. Like, we don't have to talk about it all the time, and we won't. But I just feel like Matt will always be a part of my life, whether he's here or not. Like, I will never not talk about him, whether that's now or in 30, 40 years from now. Like, he will always be something I want to acknowledge, and something you always do acknowledge. And that's something you do like really well.
I think as well, grief isn't like a tried and tested path that people have been on before, and it doesn't follow a strict, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do.
No.
So it's important to kind of understand that, I guess. And like you say, on an anniversary or a birthday, one day you might want to go for a coffee. Another year you might want to sit on your own. Another year you might want to be around everyone. It changes with your feelings.
Different
and I think
things.
as a friend, you can't take that personally, and you can't expect you to know what you want either.
And also dictate to that person what that day should look like.
Yeah.
Let's go for a walk. Or like, I'm taking on. It's like
you're feeling low. Okay, let's watch a film and cry.
Yeah, but I might not want to do that.
You might not want to do that.
Go out and get drunk and just forget about everything. And it's like, I think, as we all say, grief is about options and just allowing that person to guide you.
Yeah.
In a sense. Like, and I think this is a small thing, but this is something I've never understood. Like, I feel like when I tell people about Matt, because like Nanny and Grandad, because they were like chronological losses, I feel like they get brought up less. Whereas like people quite often will be like, how many siblings do you have? Especially meeting new people, and that obviously becomes like a thing that you then address. The amount of people who I have, even when I was like much younger, and I'll say it and they'll go, oh, how did they die? Why do you care? Like, it's such an odd question. That would be something I would say, maybe just veer away. That's like a question that can be quite like painful for that person.
So don't be nosy.
And yeah, why being nosy about? Also, do you really want to know? Like, it's probably just quite sad.
Don't
and like,
be nosy.
Yeah.
It's more about feelings and not understanding, but just being there. What is how they died going to change?
I know.
How you are as a friend or a person, or reacting to that.
Yeah.
All losses.
So bizarre. Okay.
What would you say your biggest don't, or do and don't for friends or anyone?
I feel like, in my experience, what I like is people not shying away from bringing Matt up, / when I bring him up, not shying away from talking about him. And just, like giving me options. Slowly I've started to become like, when someone goes, oh, how are you? For so long I would just be like, I feel like almost conditioned to be like, yeah, I'm fine. And actually now I'm like, yeah, pretty shit. Like, how was his anniversary? Awful.
Yeah.
I really struggled with it. And I've started to do that more with my friends, and them just being like, that is so fair enough. Do you want to talk about it? It's almost so simple. But I also try not to judge, especially now looking back, like, especially then, like, we were so young. How was I meant to grieve? But it was also like, how were you meant to be there for me? Anyone? Because there's no guide to it. There's no, as you said, tried and tested way. And I just feel like, as long as you just try, exactly, there was none of that then. And it's a massive reason why I'm doing it now. And I just feel that, I just try. You're going to get it wrong, and that's okay. And just communicate together. And in a weird kind of way, you'll slowly help each other to figure out what works for both of you. Because it's like, you have stuff you're going through. It's not just me. It's a give and a take. But it's knowing that times where one needs to lean on the other more. And a friendship is a two-way thing. But sometimes it can be darker for one person than the other. And just acknowledge that, and just don't, as you said, block it out
away.
100%.
And the more they are included in your life and included in conversations,
exactly,
the more they're around you.
So to end off this episode, I actually want to read, because it's really fitting for what we've just spoken about. I want to read from a poem by a lovely, gorgeous lady called Ruby Dixon. I've got the link to this poem in a highlight on my Instagram at Lost and Found with Frankie. I won't read it all, but there was one bit that really stood out for me. It's called My Dear Non-Grieving Friends is the title of the poem. And I'm just going to end on this because this is what stuck out the most to me. My dear non-grieving friends, it's okay to say their name. It's nice to be given the chance to talk instead of masking all the pain. My dear non-grieving friends, you won't catch me off guard. More often than not, they're on my mind despite my seeming facade. Sometimes we'll want to address it and keep their memory alive. A reminiscent conversation about them can be comforting and nice. But yes, being distracted can also be what we need. So bringing it up gives you the chance to then follow our lead. Which I thought was quite nice. Like, that
so nice
was something that really hit home for me. Giving the option, because then there's a chance for us to shut it down, kind of thing. And you're never going to know that person, but you can know them through us.
You'll never be lonely as well. When you've got
exactly.
So
That's what it's all about. It's just making everyone just a little bit less alone. Is just my aim. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed being on, and thank you for talking about it. I know it's a bit of a deep situation conversation, but I think you would have helped so many people. And I could just want to say to anyone who's listening, like, if you are the person grieving and you're struggling to articulate how you feel, one, go read that poem / maybe send it to your friends. It articulates what we need in grief so well. And if you just want to send this podcast to your friend to better help them understand what you need and what they can do to help you, then that's what this episode is here for. So please do that. And lastly, I just want to say thanks for being the best.
Thanks you for being the best.
You're incredible. And you being on has been amazing.
Thank you so much. No, it's been good. I've loved talking about it and kind of looking back. I think looking back at our friendship as well, like you go through so many phases in a friendship. When there's something like this, I think that's why we're so close.
Oh my God.
We'll always be so close.
Okay.
So thank you for having me.
My God. Come again. Cool. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Lost and Found with Frankie. If it's resonated with you, or if you've taken something from this episode, or if you've just sat down and enjoyed it, I'd be so grateful if you could rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hit that follow button, and if you're watching me over on YouTube, please give it a like and subscribe. I really want to reach as many young people and teens who are dealing with grief, as I know firsthand how much hearing conversations like this can help. So if you know someone who could benefit from what we've talked about here today, please give it a share with them too. And come say hello on Instagram and TikTok at Lost and Found with Frankie. So thank you again for being in this space here with me, and I'll see you next time.